Welcome, cultural detectives, to today's Explainer. We're diving straight into a centuries-old mystery, decoding the hidden secrets of ancient Southeast Asian textiles. We're going to look closely at some absolutely stunning fabrics to understand exactly how people from long ago showed off their power, their wealth, and their deepest beliefs.
So, picture this. If you lived in ancient Southeast Asia hundreds of years ago, how would you prove your ultimate power and wealth without saying a single word? I mean, you didn't have social media, television, or fancy sports cars to show off, right? You couldn't just post a picture of your wealthy lifestyle for everyone to see. So what did you actually do?
It all comes down to the power inside the clothes. The answer to proving your status was literally a secret code woven right into what people wore every single day. These clothes weren't just for keeping warm, they were a powerful, wearable message.
Just look at the massive contrast here. On the right, we've got sturdy, everyday cotton cloth, super practical and plain. But over on the left, that's a noble's dazzling, incredibly fragile gold silk. It's honestly like comparing your everyday gym clothes to a $1 million designer outfit. Only the absolute highest ranks of society could afford these delicate gold threads. This instantly separated the powerful nobles from the common people just by the way their outfits caught the sunlight. Imagine walking into a bustling village and instantly knowing exactly who the most important person was, just because they were literally glowing.
Which brings us to the magic of the loom. You've got to wonder, how did these ancient artisans create these seemingly magical, perfectly symmetrical golden codes without any modern machines or computers?
Well, it wasn't magic at all. It was pure genius engineering. Weavers used 3 precise steps on large wooden looms to build a design row by row. First, they passed the basic silk threads, called the warp, through a comb-like tool to keep everything perfectly spaced out. Second, they marked out those complex, symmetrical patterns using thick white threads as a visual guide. And finally, they inserted special wooden tools called shed sticks. These sticks created a temporary gap in the tight threads, allowing the weavers to carefully slip in extra gold threads, which experts call an auxiliary weft. Think of it like they were hand-coding a computer screen, pixel by pixel, slowly building a stunning image out of pure gold. It took intense math, extreme patience, and just incredible skill.
And this illustration brilliantly captures a real weaver doing exactly that in Palembang, which was a historic weaving hub. You can see her setting up that complex wooden loom. She's essentially acting like a human 3D printer, doing all that math in her head to carefully build perfectly symmetrical cloth for kings using her own 2 hands. And get this, every single pull of the thread had to be exactly right, or the entire golden coat would get completely messed up.
Now let's explore gold thread versus gold leaf. Let's play detective again for a second. What if you wanted that royal golden look, but you didn't have months to spend weaving it, or maybe you just couldn't afford pure woven gold?
That's where we see a very clever historical workaround. Look at the huge difference between these two techniques. On one hand, you have a style called Songket. This is the process of painstakingly weaving gold thread deep into the fabric itself. It's highly durable, sure, but incredibly expensive and extremely slow to make. But on the other hand, you have Prada. This was an economical shortcut where they simply glued shiny gold leaf directly onto the finished cloth. It was a much faster, cheaper way to look like a millionaire. Instead of spending months hunched over a loom, an artisan could decorate a whole outfit in just a few days.
And guess what? Even royalty loved a good shortcut. Check out the Raja of Bulalang in this photograph taken way back in 1865. He's wearing a spectacular skirt cloth that actually uses that brilliant Prada gluing technique. He got that maximum glittering effect for the cameras and his subjects, all without having to wait months for a deeply woven piece. It just goes to show that even kings understood the power of a quick, spectacular fashion statement.
Notice how the glued gold completely overwrites the original dyed pattern underneath it. It acted a bit like ancient glamorous spray paint. Artisans could take a normal, everyday piece of dyed cloth and instantly transform it into a luxury item fit for a grand royal ceremony just by painting on glue and pressing down delicate sheets of gold leaf. It instantly upgraded the fabric, turning simple cotton or silk into a literal walking billboard of wealth.
Let's move on to the beliefs hidden in the patterns. We're going to put on our art historian hats for a minute, because these patterns weren't just about looking rich. We're going to decode the actual beliefs and secret messages woven right into these shimmering threads.
Have you ever seen jagged teeth on a blanket or a scarf? In ancient Southeast Asia, that pattern is called the pucuk rubung, or the bamboo shoot motif. It acts as a magical border meant to fiercely protect the wearer's spiritual power from evil. Imagine wearing a magical shield of golden teeth around your waist or draped over your shoulder. That is exactly what this pattern was designed to do.
You can clearly see those protective, jagged teeth perfectly guarding the edges of this red and gold cloth. The main, highly detailed pattern sits safely in the middle, totally protected from evil spirits by those magical golden triangles at both ends. It was literally like having a spiritual force field woven right into the fabric, keeping the ruler's energy completely safe.
These patterns were like a wearable billboard packed with critical information. Let's decode what they really meant. First, they proudly showed off ancient Hindu and Buddhist religious legends. By wearing stories of gods and heroes, the ruler was basically telling everyone that the heavens were on their side. Second, these beautiful clothes proved the wearer was connected to massive global trade networks, especially with India. The gold threads and specific silk dyes often had to be imported from super far away. And if you were a coastal ruler, you'd wear patterns featuring noble animals, like huge Indian elephants or fierce lions. Think about it, there are no lions naturally living in Indonesia, so wearing a lion proved to everyone that you controlled the powerful sea trade routes and had strong connections across the ocean. It wasn't just fashion, it was a clear map of who was boss, loudly showing off their deep spiritual and social power to absolutely everyone who saw them.
That brings us to the commoner's royal dream. But what about everyday people like us? If gold was strictly for the royals and the super rich, did commoners ever get to experience the magic of the gold?
Absolutely they did. During massive life events, like big weddings or coming-of-age ceremonies, commoners could actually borrow or rent these intensely magical garments. Just look at this heavily decorated tapas ceremonial skirt. It's loaded with thick gold thread, tiny mirrors, and shiny sequins. It was completely unpractical for everyday farming or cooking, but it was perfectly designed to catch the light and shine brightly during special community celebrations.
As our source material beautifully explains, for just one day, everyday people could temporarily hack the social system. By wearing these heavy, glittering gold clothes and sitting under royal umbrellas, a regular bride and groom completely elevated their spiritual status. They transformed from everyday villagers into a king and queen for the day. The clothes literally gave them a massive surge of social power and respect that they would remember for the rest of their lives. Which leaves us with a fascinating cultural mystery to solve in our very own closets. We might not weave pure gold thread or glue shiny gold leaves to our jackets anymore, but we definitely still use clothes to send powerful messages. Think about the famous logos on your sneakers or the designer brand on your shirt. They tell the world a little bit about who you are, what you like, and what groups you belong to. So what secret symbols of power are you wearing right now? Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and keep looking for those hidden stories all around you.